So previously questions have been asked on this idea that it is a science or an art. How do you interpret the term art? Art is a skill. Can you give example? Art.
Skills, techniques that we can learn.
Correct. But we can learn science also.
For science, it should be the factual.
Science is established knowledge, where your creativity is immaterial. It's not required. Right? You can use science to be creative, that is okay. But the knowledge is already established, so you can just use it to achieve certain defined purpose, things which are already defined. Art is something where you can innovate, where you can create, and you can bring your own discretion into it. So when you use the word art, we generally mean to convey that the study or nature of PubAd is normative. Science, the nature of PubAd is empirical. So we can say that yes, public administration is to a large extent a normative study. It studies things which are subjective in nature. Like, so when you think of justice, when you talk about equality, when you talk about humanity, compassion, ethics, morality, public service, when you talk about these things, or for that matter, let us say democratic ideals, so when you associate public administration, right, as a subject as well as a set of activity or functions with the following characteristics, are these characteristics quantifiable? To an extent. Quantifiable to an extent, that means obviously we may have some data, some fact which will help us understand the domain or extent of these issues, right? But obviously as such, these goals, they are not quantifiable. So they have to be somewhere evaluated on the basis of qualitative parameters. Qualitative parameters where people's acceptance becomes the important criteria. So whenever we think of public administration as a subject, do we accept that it is filled with this vocabulary? Do we agree that it is comprising of dominantly these ideas? Okay, should I say yes or no? It comprises, yes, dominantly of these ideas. But there is a part of public administration which also deals with techniques, right? Procedures, financial and personal practices. Now see, so obviously there are a lot of things which the administration deals with, or what we study in public administration, which comprise of quantitative aspect. These things generally do not change much. Even if we think of Indian administration or we think of American administration, right? More or less the techniques may function in the same manner, or techniques may be used in the same manner. So a part of public administration study depends upon facts which are universal, and a part of public administration deals with values which are not universal. These are more contextual. Now, what is the basis of decisions that we make in administration? Now see, science and art is a debate regarding can we make or can we study public administration in such a manner that we can establish a cause and effect relationship. So does a policy implementer know that this is the best way of implementing policy, irrespective of what is the nature of policy? Understanding? Right? Does a policy formulator know what is the best method of making the policy, irrespective of what is the content of policy? So do we have such kind of scientific knowledge with us? Whenever administrative decisions are made, right, Now, our purpose of obviously understanding this is that can we make decisions or policies, right, which will have predictable consequences. हमारे लिए तो यही purpose है इसका भाई. So, is PubEd an art or a science? Obviously, it is a combination of both, right? Maybe the goals of public administration, which are defined by the politics, is an art, and the means of achieving these goals is a science. To a large extent, right? Absolutely, though, we cannot say that. So, when you think of the combination, so we can say, okay, administrative decisions. Questions have been asked around this idea, same. Administrative decisions are dominantly factual, though they are not absolutely factual. Dominantly factual, though they are not absolutely factual. So no doubt, our scholars like Simon or Bernard, right, or David Easton or Dror, you might have heard their names, at least these two. So Simon and Bernard, who are talking about decision-making behavioral scholars, Easton and Dror, who are mostly focused on policy process, right? So they agree to the fact that administrative decisions are dominantly factual as they are guided by data and facts. They are not guided by emotions and values, because administration is about implementation. Right. So can we say that the debate over public administration as a science or art, right, should not be viewed in terms of two different aspects? They are both somewhere a combination of both. An administrative decision comprises of both facts plus values. Let's take an example. Estimation of compensation for crop failure based on standard Now see, when you see estimation of compensation for crop failure based on standard financial and revenue codes. Now there are well established frameworks to evaluate that what will be the quantum of compensation given to a farmer if there is a crop failure. ये well defined है, right? How it is calculated? क्या parameters use होते हैं? Agriculture insurance scheme है ना भाई? क्या parameters use?
कितना डैमेज हो रहा है, कितना रेवेन्यू उससे भी जनरेट होता है, और इस तरह देन एमएसपी वगैरह.
कोई डिजास्टर आया, फाइन, natural disaster, the compensation would be different, right? The parameter will change. If there is a man-made disaster, the parameter will change, right? A cattle can enter into the field and can damage the crops, but for the farmer, technically, that is not a benefit. He has not got the benefit of his effort in any form. If it is destroyed by flood, then also he has lost the benefit. But both the cases are different from each other. Acreage, the land which was under cultivation. Yield, productivity, right? How many crops per year can be grown on that particular field? ठीक है, all rental value of the land. बहुत सारा उसमें calculation जाता है. Inputs, seed, fertilizer, ये सब. Fine. Let us say, तो ये एक standard formula है. आप उसको use करोगे. See, but when the collector, or for that matter any officer, is evaluating the compensation, he will also take into consideration, right, the he will not simply calculate the compensation. He will also evaluate or use the criteria like social, regional, economic factor. Daily wage earner है, peasant है, right? Tenant है, right? Landlord है, owner है, क्या है? Small farmer है, big farmer है, right? Marginal farmer है. Then which region? Northeast region, an arid region, right? A better climatic condition. Likewise, they will calculate these factors. ये factors क्या हैं? They are not a standard formula. They are based on varied circumstances of that area. So ये जो part है, ये value based है. Right? I'm not saying it is totally subjective, but it differs from place to place, community to community, region to region. So when administrative decisions will be made, right? Obviously the nature of administration or public administration is more scientific, but at the same time they cannot deny the importance of values. A midday meal scheme, right? So one collector in Bihar who became very popular, so he went and ate the food. Teachers were not eating the food, students from higher caste were not eating the food made by the cook who belonged to the lower caste. So collector himself went and ate the food. It was a symbolic gesture. Right? Obviously it is not a kind of factual decision or a scientific action by the collector. It was purely based on value because it was symbolic in nature. There was no law which was bounding the collector to go there and eat the food. Are you getting it? So various aspects will be visible when administrative decisions are taken. And that is how the nature of public administration turns out to be, that it is a varied combination of facts and values, or scientific knowledge and probably the normative knowledge.